Volkswagen Jetta, courtesy of Faulkner Volkswagen in Mechanicsburg, PA. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. So we're in the new 2025 Jetta today because, of course, this one has been refreshed for 2025. You have new colors, new dash design, more standard features, and my very favorite part, we have an Atlantic blue interior, which is absolutely amazing. This is the color interior that I have been looking for personally, but if you're curious, this one is competing with the Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, Mazda 3, just to name a few. But fun fact for you, the Jetta has actually been in the US since 1979, so that is pretty darn impressive. But ultimately in this video, we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. And so as you can imagine, there are several different trim levels for the 2025 Jetta. First one being the S, starting at $21,995, which is a modest $560 bump from the 2024 model year. You got the Sport for $23,275, SE, which is the one we are in today, starting at $24,975. And lastly, the SEL starting at $29,000 even. But regardless of trim level that you go with, the power plant on the new Jetta is going to be the same. Powering the beast is a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, putting out 158 horsepower, 5,500 RPM, 184 pound-feet of torque, coming in at 1,700 RPM. That power being sent to the front wheels through an 8-speed automatic. Yes, the manual is unfortunately gone for 2025. 0 to 60 time coming in at approximately 7 seconds flat. Top speed, if you're interested, 128 miles per hour, with MPG numbers coming in at 29 in the city, 40 on the highway, taking regular unleaded fuel. So before we do any kind of fun acceleration test here in the Jetta, I did want to mention to you guys the drive mode. There is an eco button located just to the left of the shifter. You essentially have normal and eco driving modes, adjusting things like the shift points and the throttle response. So now having got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and find a straightaway. Let's put the acceleration here to the test, and let's see how quickly we can get our new 2025 Jetta here up to speed. All right, let's do this from a standstill in 3, 2, 1, go. A little bit wet out today, keep that in mind. No slipping though. Nice initial get up and go. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not gonna have any issues emerging onto the highway. That's plenty of an acceleration. Honestly, 0 to 60 in 7 seconds flat, that's respectable. Just got done driving the new Acura Integra, and that did 0 to 60 in 7.1, so this thing is quicker than that. So yeah, absolutely no issues with that acceleration. But anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. So up front, you will find 11.3-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 10.3-inch solid rear discs. As far as that 60-0 stopping distance goes, that comes in at 127 feet. As far as braking feel goes, it's fine. It's just right. It's not a super firm braking feel. It's not even a firm braking feel, but it's not a soft one either. It feels exactly what you would want the Jetta to feel like, or what you would expect the Jetta to feel like. I'll put it that way. But anywho, bit touching on suspension and handling. Up front, you're going to get a McPherson strut front suspension. In the back, torsion beam rear axle, front stabilizer bar, and if you were to go with that Sport trim level, you also get an XDS cross differential system. So essentially, Volkswagen added that to help improve handling and traction. But overall, as far as ride quality goes on these back roads that aren't the best, it's okay. It's pretty much average. It's par for the course. It's nothing crazy, but it gets the job done. I personally wouldn't have any issues with it. As far as steering feel goes, I like it. It's definitely weighted on the heavier side of things. Kind of feels like a Honda Civic steering feel. It's a much heavier feel than the Toyota Corolla. Very playful. It should make it fun to drive on back roads like we're on right now in Mechanicsburg, so no issues there. As far as cabin noise goes, we're going 30 miles per hour right now. Definitely do get a little bit of road noise. Wind noise is definitely held at bay, so I like that, but you do get a little bit of road noise, as expected really on any compact car for that matter, I'll put it that way. And touching on rear visibility, I can see perfectly fine out the back. Typically in a sedan of this shape, you're not going to have any issues there. But touching on forward visibility a little bit, rain sensing windshield wipers like we have on right now actually do come standard on the Jetta. So whenever this thing detects any kind of mist or rainfall, it's going to automatically turn on those windshield wipers for you, kind of like automatic headlights. So just one less thing you got to worry about there, which is pretty stinking cool. But that pretty much rounds out the performance segment of this review, you guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of our brand new, refreshed 2025 Volkswagen Jetta. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new 2025 Volkswagen Jetta, finished in opal white pearl. In case you were curious of the exact exterior color name that we had with us here on this one today, I love it. I think it looks dang good with the black contrast roof, but there are some new colors for 2025, 2 of them to be exact, one of them being Monterey Blue Pearl and Monument Gray is the other one if you wanted the latest and greatest colors for 2025. But as always, let's go ahead and start with where the Jetta is made. Taking a look at the VIN, first character is the number 3, indicating that the new Jetta is built and assembled in Mexico, in case you were curious about that. Starting up front, reshaped headlamp design for 2025. That's probably the first thing I noticed on this one, but LED headlights with LED daytime running lights do come standard on every single trim level across the board. Get the automatic feature with that as well. Added gloss black accents for the sport trim level, in case you're curious about that. And of course, there is a refreshed front bumper for 2025 since it has been refreshed. Specifically the bottom portion of it, that definitely looks good. I like it. I think the refresh looks good for the 2025 Jetta, but let me know what you guys think of the refresh in the comments section below. But that pretty much rounds out the front end. Let's now go ahead and swing around to the side. All right, so now since we are around to the side of this one, chrome beltline molding for all trim levels but the sport, because of course that sport trim level is going to give you gloss black accents. You got the gloss black beltline molding. SEL badging can be found on the front fender only for the SEL trim level, obviously. Taking a look at the side mirrors, body colored power adjustable side mirrors coming standard. They're going to be gloss black though for the sport, yet again heated for all trim levels across the board. Then you're going to find LED integrated turn signals for the SEL trim level. Then taking a look down at the wheel setup, 16-inch machined alloys for the S, 17-inch machined alloys for the sport, 17-inch alloys for the SE that we have with us here today, and then 18-inch machined alloys for the SEL. But that pretty much rounds out the side profile. Let's now go ahead and swing around to the back. All right, and here's the other refreshed part of the Jetta, which is the back end, of course, all the way to the top. Matte black shark fin antenna. You do have redesigned LED taillights for all trim levels across the board for the Jetta. You gotta love that. Of course, you're going to find trim level badging found in the trunk there. If you happen to wander onto a Volkswagen lot, maybe on a Sunday, and you're curious what trim level you're looking at, just take a look at the trunk basically. And then underneath it all, there is a single exhaust outlet. It is, of course, tucked away. So having said that, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next here. As always, here is that exhaust clip. All right, and so now let's go ahead and make our way to my favorite part of the Jetta, which is the interior. So since we're still around back, when it comes to opening that rear trunk, there is a button on the key fob. There is a button, rubberized button on the trunk itself then as well. But once opened up, cargo capacity comes in at 14.1 cubic feet, which is substantial. It's a good bit. But if that was not enough space, there is a 60-40 split, meaning the rear seats do fold down for quite a bit of extra space then if you needed it. There's some cargo lighting back there, of course, and then if you were to lift up underneath of that cargo floor, you will find a spare tire, which you guys know I personally prefer to the fixed flat, so gotta love that. But then make our way up to the rear legroom. That comes in at 37.4 inches. For reference, I'm even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the second row there. Rear center armrest with cup holders does come standard. You get heated rear seats for the SEL trim level only, but that's pretty cool. No rear ventilation, no rear charging ports. Unfortunately, that's kind of standard for the compact car segment, so no big issues there. But let's go ahead and make our way to the front seats. Manually adjustable cloth seats for the S, enhanced bolstering with contrast stitching for the sport trim level, 6-way power adjustable front seat with 2-way power lumbar for the SE, that of course is what we have, heated front seats for the sport trim level and up, leatherette surfaces for the sport trim level and up. Going to find ventilated and leather seating for the SEL. You also get memory settings for that SEL trim level as well. But again, we have the Atlantic blue interior, so Atlantic blue seats. It's continued on to the doors and the dash. It looks absolutely amazing. We'll get more into that in a little bit, but as far as seat comfort goes, it was plenty fine. I didn't have any issues there. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the steering wheel. It is tilt and telescoping. It is a flat bottom, which is pretty cool. It is eco leather wrapped, whatever the heck that means, but it does feel like leather. It feels really nice. And it is, of course, going to be heated for the SEL trim level only. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys the key. You got your Volkswagen logo on the one side. When you flip it over, lock, unlock, button to pop the rear trunk there, the ×2 button, that is going to be your remote start. That's for the SE trim level and up. So pretty cool that we have that with us here today. We can warm this thing up on cold days in Pennsylvania, kind of like today. But it is all keyless entry with a push button start. So all I'm going to do here is simply put my foot on the brake and press that silver engine start button located just to the left of of the shifter. And so once started up, there's 2 different gauge clusters dependent upon the trim level that you go with. So there's an 8-inch digital gauge cluster for all trim levels but the SEL. That SEL is going to give you a 10.25-inch digital gauge cluster. But either way, the gauges are actually still pretty darn good, even with our 8-inch digital gauge cluster, because there's this cool view button found on the right-hand side of the steering wheel that completely changes the look of the gauges up there. There's your typical speedometer look, and then if you press it again, it's more pronounced, more of a sporty kind of look with just the tachometer with the digital speed in the middle, and then you got kind of information kind of set up with the speedometer in the middle as well. So a little page out of Audi's playbook, I guess you could say. Audi does gauges better, of course, because that's the luxury division of this, I suppose you could say. But nonetheless, it looks good, and they did a pretty darn good job with those gauges. But of course, it gives you outside temperature, how many miles you have left until you hit empty. It's super bright, so I'm a big fan of that. But now let's go ahead and make our way to overall interior quality. Panoramic sunroof for the SEL trim level. Overhead sunglass holder for all trim levels across the board. That's pretty cool. There is a new dash design for 2025 with a 3-bar theme that's kind of located just above the passenger side glove box. I noticed that when I first got in this one. So along with the ocean blue interior, like I'm going to keep saying, auto dimming rearview mirror is going to come standard. That's pretty darn cool, because that definitely doesn't always come standard on the competition. So big fan of that. HomeLink controls are available. It doesn't come standard though. Dual zone climate control for the SE and SEL trim levels. Wireless phone charger for the SE and SEL trim levels. That's new for the SE for 2025, by the way, and that's located just in front of the shifter here. So since we're around here, you got electromechanical parking brake to the left of that shifter. You got a couple cup holders and a phone slot just behind the shifter, and then within the center armrest, it's actually a decent amount of space in there. You have a USB charging port within there as well. But like I said, my favorite part has got to be the ocean blue interior. I'm gonna keep saying it. It's even like a leatherette finish just above the passenger side glove box and below the infotainment screen. So it's a really nice feel to it too. And then that's continued onto the doors as well. So there's so few blue, like really blue interiors out there right now. So I love what Volkswagen did with this interior. So this is probably one of my favorite interiors I've driven in the past several hundred cars, just because of the color. It's so stinking cool. But anywho, let's go ahead and take a look at the infotainment screen here. You're going to find an 8-inch color touchscreen display, which is newly standard for 2025. Bluetooth and audio streaming up there, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. However, for the SE and SEL trims, it's wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, so that's pretty cool. Of course, you can check out your radio information up there as well. So when it comes to the sound systems, there are 2 of them. You're going to find 4 speakers for the S, Sport, and SE trims, and then a Beats sound system for the SEL trim level. So having said that, we do have that 4-speaker sound system with us here today. So let's go ahead and turn on the radio. Let's see what we got playing today, and let's test out the clarity of this one. I gotta be honest, for a 4-speaker sound system, that's not bad. That's pretty good. So I know it's 4 speakers, so I came into this, I guess, expecting absolutely nothing, like a podcast kind of radio kind of setup. But that was pretty good. The clarity was definitely better than I expected. Bass was okay. Not the best, obviously, but the clarity really surprised me. That's a pretty darn good 4-speaker sound system for it only being 4 speakers. I'll just put it that way. But last thing I wanted to mention to you guys on that infotainment screen is when you do put the Jetta in reverse, you will find a rear view camera coming standard across the board. Having said that, it's definitely not the clearest rear view camera out there, but it gets the job done nonetheless, which is always going to lead us into safety. And so to start, because I always mention this first, this one is not an IIHS top safety pick, unfortunately. Front side curtain airbags do come standard. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming standard. A blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert. That doesn't always come standard, so that's pretty cool. Adaptive cruise control, forward collision warning, autonomous emergency braking, and lane keep assist then as well. So overall, when it comes to my final thoughts, I think what impressed me the most was the ocean blue interior. You guys know I was going to say it. That's my favorite part about the new Jetta. So yeah, that's pretty cool. This thing is pretty darn quick as well for not being like a GLI or something like that. Like 0 to 60 in 7 seconds flat, that's plenty respectable. Like I said, that's quicker than the Acura Integra I just drove, so there's nothing wrong with that. Pretty darn good MPGs as well, no issues there. I think the main thing that I really got kind of against this car is it's not an IIHS top safety pick. And because of the crash test rating, I guess, but you guys can look that up for yourself. Not really crash testing this one today, so I can't really comment too much on that, but I will say overall, Definitely a fun drive, and I love the interior.